Thank you very much, and I'll also undertake to read from the opposition.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to now know that when I travel with my nanny to Switzerland, I sit on a chair, I don't even know what I'm doing. Maybe a nurse is pushing some liquid into her. I'm suddenly a murderer, and I will be prosecuted by the side. Maybe I have to do it myself, maybe I do not. But actually, this case we're talking about, in countries where assisted suicide is legal, which is not exactly the same as murder as they portray it, is a system subject to checks and balances, and the actual suicide is committed by nurses. So the actual problem of me committing murder there is not true. And if I would be committing murder to my mother, then we already have jurisdiction. We already can do many things about that, as Steffi has told in her first speech, that when we commit a murder against an inhabitant of our own country abroad, we still have the opportunity to prosecute them for that, and we'll investigate. But suicide, aiding with suicide is something utterly different, and I'll tell you that in my own argument, because I will tell you the difference between assisted suicide and murder. And I will also go into the fact what is prosecution and why that's totally out of reality check here. But let me go on with my rebuttal just a little bit. So what I've told you is that if it's murder, it's already prosecuted, and assisted suicide is definitely something else, and that nurses are usually committing this. And it's hard to determine whether or not when you are helping someone committing suicide or when you're actually murdering someone. In their case, utterly unclear. And the other question is, we still haven't got any answer to effectivity. So if you want to protect your own citizens and you want them to not commit suicide, which can actually be illegal, even though the prosecution of it is a little bit difficult sometimes. When someone really wants to commit suicide, they can do it in their own home, and that is fine according to the position. And then all of a sudden, they're not influenced by anyone else other than themselves. But when they fly to another country, it's done by a nurse somewhere, it's suddenly always the case that they're influenced by someone else and someone should be prosecuted. How is it that this difference between prosecuting between doing it yourself and letting you be helped in a respectful manner makes it always influenced by others? Yes?
Madam, these people can't walk up to dignitaries by themselves. Somebody has to physically take them, get them to an airport, pay for them, get them there.
It doesn't have to be. They can just travel there in an airplane. It still doesn't change the fact that it may be nice for them to have someone with them. That doesn't make that they're always influenced by that person. That doesn't mean that that person is effectively killing that person. And you have to show us that this attempted suicide is actually caused by the person traveling with them, and that it's different than the status quo in which we can already prosecute someone who is murdering someone abroad. Okay. So let me get to the difference between suicide, assisted suicide, and murder. And I was already told you something about that. But in these countries where it's legal, you have doctors, you have physicians, you have psychologists who can determine whether someone is finished at this stage. They can determine actually whether he's making a rational decision. And in most cases, as in Switzerland, it's in that that would make a much more thought through decision than actually going on a whim in your own home and sliding through your wrists. It is utterly unclear to me why in this instance that should be illegal and even those people should be prosecuted, while you think it's okay that you can decide on a whim in your own home to slit your wrists. That is something you have to explain to me. And also, you have to show that when it's already murder, you can already do something about it. So why is there this difference? When you are trying to protect citizens, and you think that suicide is morally harmful, then why is suicide in your own country illegal? And when you are trying to help your society because you believe that suicide is morally unjust, then also why is it legal to help them? But also, as Steffi has told you, and you really have to get into this, is that when you're protecting society, you have the moral things in your society, your moral values, and you translate that into laws, and therefore you outlaw some things like assisted suicide in your own country, because you believe that when someone does that in your country, it is harmful to harmful to the people in society because they believe that it's morally wrong. That harm doesn't exist when it happens abroad. So why do you also want to prohibit this when it happens abroad? We've already shown you that protecting them against themselves is something that you already do not do under your defined allowing euthanasia. And also, when someone's going abroad, it's very hard to stop them from doing that. But also, when you're protecting society from this moral harm, that harm doesn't exist abroad. And also, why do you have jurisdiction over what you believe is morally wrong or right abroad, when in so many other cases, the laws that are abroad are fundamental are being upheld and are not able to be revoked by another country? Okay, so let me get into prosecution, because what you're actually doing is quite bad. When we're prosecuting someone, you are saying to that person, you are doing something fundamentally wrong. You are harming the basic laws of our country. But yeah, you're not harming the laws of our country, you're within the laws and jurisdiction of another country. And when you're not harming specifically a citizen of our own country, because you are not pulling the trigger of that one, you're just sitting next to him holding his hand, making it a more easy ride for them. But that's perfectly okay. Because sometimes we say we prosecute someone to prohibit some action from occurring. But in this instance, that is very difficult because you cannot prosecute them, and people know that. They're hard to be caught because it doesn't get signalized that it's illegal because it's legal in that country. So you do not have this revoking measure. And also you cannot prosecute someone from doing nothing wrong, from not killing anyone, for just being there. So that's kind of weird. So that is why that is fundamentally unjust. It is not moral. It is not within your own jurisdiction, as Steffi has told you. And there isn't a real harm to society or to the person there. And if you are saying that it's under the influence of someone else, you definitely have to show us that that influence is actually there. So on all these grounds, because of the jurisdiction and